Jeff Bezos had a simple rule for every team at Amazon. If you couldn't feed them with 2 pizzas, the team was too big. It sounds absurd, but this quirky food rule changed the way the world builds companies. Chapter 1. The problem with big teams. Amazon in 1998 was growing fast. Too fast. What had started as an online bookstore in Bezos' garage had become a billion-dollar business serving millions of customers. And with that growth came a problem that every scaling company faces. Meetings were getting longer. Decisions were getting slower. Engineers were spending more time coordinating than building. Bezos noticed something that research would later confirm. When teams get bigger, they don't get more productive. They get more complicated. Here's the math that changed everything. In a team of 2 people, there's only one communication channel. Just one pair to keep alive. Add a third person, and you suddenly have 3 channels. A team of 5 has 10. A team of 10 has 45. A team of 20 has 100. That's Metcalfe's law meets organizational physics. The communication overhead of a team grows faster than the output it can possibly deliver. Bezos didn't wait for a consultant to tell him this. He lived it. He watched Amazon's internal team slow to a crawl as headcount grew. And instead of building more process to manage the complexity, instead of adding more layers, more managers, more tracking tools, he asked a different question. What if the solution wasn't to manage complexity? What if the solution was to eliminate it? Chapter 2. The rule that changed everything. The 2 pizza rule is disarmingly simple. Every team at Amazon must be small enough that 2 pizzas can feed them. In practice, that means between 5 and 8 people, maybe 9 if someone isn't very hungry. This isn't just a cute heuristic. It's a structural principle that forces a specific kind of organization. When a team is small enough for 2 pizzas, something interesting happens. Everyone knows what everyone else is working on. You don't need a stand-up meeting with 20 people where half the attendees aren't relevant to the other half's work. You don't need elaborate status trackers or project management software just to understand what your team is doing. You can just know. Bezos called these small single-threaded teams, a term from software engineering, where a single-threaded process runs on one task at a time without interruption. Each team has a single mission, a single owner, and a single area of ownership. No shared ownership, no committee decisions, no organizational ambiguity about whose job it is to ship the thing. This is the other half of the rule that most people miss. It's not just about headcount, it's about accountability. A large team can always say, well, that was someone else's responsibility. A 2-pizza team of 6 can't hide. Everyone touches the outcome. Everyone owns the result. The rule creates clarity by design, not by accident. Chapter 3. What science says about team size. This isn't just Amazon folklore. The science of team size has been building for decades. In the 1970s, Harvard professor J. Richard Hackman spent years studying teams across industries, orchestras, airline cockpit crews, hospital surgical teams. His conclusion: adding people to a team doesn't increase performance linearly. In fact, beyond a certain size, it often makes performance worse. Hackman called the optimal group the real team. Small enough that members could know each other, hold each other accountable, and move without constant coordination. The number he kept finding in high-performing groups: 3 to 9 people. Google's Project Aristotle, one of the most comprehensive team performance studies ever conducted, came to a similar conclusion. It's not who's on the team that matters most, it's how the team works together. And smaller teams work together better, almost by default. There's also the psychological safety dimension. Research from the Wharton School shows that people in smaller teams feel more psychological safety, the sense that you can take risks and make mistakes without being judged. In a team of 20, you might hesitate to raise a concern in case it seems political. In a team of 6, you just say it. Psychological safety, as Google found in Project Aristotle, is the single strongest predictor of team performance. Small teams create the conditions for it automatically. Chapter 4. How Amazon wired it into the architecture. Amazon didn't just announce the two-pizza rule and hope everyone followed it. They built it into the architecture of the entire company. The result was a concept called the service-oriented architecture, breaking Amazon's massive technical infrastructure into small, independently owned microservices. Each microservice was owned by a two-pizza team. That team wrote it, deployed it, operated it, and improved it. No handoffs, no queues, no submit a ticket and wait 3 weeks. If something broke, the team that owned it fixed it. This organizational design enabled what Amazon calls two-speed execution, the ability to move fast at the team level while maintaining stability at the system level. The two pizza teams could ship code multiple times a day without waiting for approval from a large platform team. Meanwhile, the overall architecture remained coherent because each team's interfaces were well defined. This is also why Amazon was able to spin up Amazon Web Services in the mid-2000s, one of the most consequential business decisions in technology history. AWS emerged from teams that already knew how to operate independently, move fast, and own their outcomes end-to-end. The two-pizza rule didn't just make teams more productive. It made Amazon structurally capable of inventing new businesses at speed. Chapter 5, how to apply this today. So how do you actually implement this in your own company? The answer depends on where you are. If you're an early-stage startup with fewer than 15 people, you might already be living the two-pizza rule without knowing. The danger comes as you grow. The instinct when you raise a Series A is to hire fast and build a large team. Resist it. Instead, ask, what is the mission of this team? Is it specific enough that 6 people can own it entirely? If the answer is no, the mission is too broad. Break it up. For teams at larger organizations, the two-pizza rule is a forcing function. If your team is 12 people, it's probably actually 2 teams sharing one Slack channel and one sprint board. Separate them. Give each group a clear mission, a clear owner, and a clear definition of done. The friction you feel doing this is the friction of clarity. And clarity is worth every bit of that friction. There are real exceptions. Some problems require genuine coordination across many people, but they're less common than you think. Most of the time, large teams aren't dealing with inherently complex problems. They're dealing with simple problems made complex by organizational design. The two-pizza rule is an antidote to that complexity. Not a perfect one, but an unusually powerful one for how simple it is. Jeff Bezos summarized the goal in a memo from the early 2000s. We will have a decentralized organization with small autonomous teams where each team can iterate independently. That phrase, iterate independently, is the whole game. When teams are small, iteration gets faster. When iteration gets faster, learning gets faster. When learning gets faster, products get better. And when products get better, companies win. Amazon's growth over the last 25 years isn't just a story of great technology or bold bets. It's a story of organizational design, of teams small enough to know each other, hold each other accountable, and ship without permission. The two-pizza rule sounds like a joke about food, but underneath the joke is a serious idea about how human beings actually collaborate, not in giant committees, not in org charts with 12 layers, but in small groups of people who trust each other, know their mission, and own their outcomes. That is the fundamental unit of great work. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe below. Every week on Founder Fuel, we break down the management frameworks, business principles, and organizational insights that separate good companies